Most people remember Mike Tyson as the youngest heavyweight champion in history, a man whose ferocity in the ring seemed unstoppable. But before the fame, the knockouts, and the bright lights, Tyson was a child navigating the harsh streets of Brownsville, New York, hungry, scared, and searching for belonging. His childhood was far from ordinary. It was a world where survival was the only rule. Tyson experienced loss, neglect, and bullying long before he understood what family meant. Every day demanded that he be tough, resilient, and ready to defend himself, not for glory, but because no one else would. The anger and fear that would later define his ring persona were born here, from moments of vulnerability no child should endure. And yet, amidst that pain, there were glimpses of potential, a spark waiting to be nurtured, someone who might believe in him when the world seemed determined not to. The mentor who changed everything. That someone came in the form of Cus D'Amato, the legendary boxing trainer who saw beyond Tyson's aggression and fear. Cus didn't just teach him how to fight, he showed him how to believe in himself, how to trust, and how to channel the pain that had defined his young life. To Tyson, Cus became a father figure, offering guidance, discipline, and love that had been absent for so long. Under Cus, the outcast became a prodigy, the angry boy became focused, and the forgotten child began to shine. Every punch Tyson threw was no longer merely an expression of survival. It became a testament to the discipline and belief Cus instilled in him. But life's lessons can be cruel, and just as Tyson began to feel safe and connected, tragedy struck. Cus's death shook Tyson to his core, depriving him not only of a mentor, but also of the emotional anchor he had clung to throughout his early life. Without Cus, Tyson faced the world alone, carrying grief that would influence every step of his career and personal life. Rising star, hidden pain. By the age of 20, Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion in history, defeating Trevor Berbick in a display of unmatched power. To the world, he was invincible, a force of nature, the embodiment of raw talent and determination. Fans marveled, reporters gushed, and promoters saw a goldmine. But behind the roar of the crowd and the flashing cameras, Tyson's life was far more complex. Fame and money didn't erase the loneliness or fill the void left by Cus's death. He was surrounded by advisors, friends, and associates who promised guidance but often pursued their own interests, leaving him vulnerable to exploitation. In the ring, Tyson was Iron Mike. Outside, he was a man trying to navigate a world he hadn't been prepared to handle, carrying trauma from decades earlier, while under the constant scrutiny of the public eye. Personal struggles and public scrutiny. Tyson's early marriage to actress Robin Givens was celebrated in the media as a fairy tale, a stabilizing chapter in his tumultuous life. Behind closed doors, however, the relationship was marked by tension, misunderstanding, and emotional turbulence. Tyson struggled to reconcile the rage and insecurity of his youth with the demands of fame and family life. When the marriage unraveled publicly, the world witnessed a side of Tyson few had seen: confusion, vulnerability, and heartbreak. Interviews and media coverage transformed him from invincible champion to subject of criticism and suspicion. The pressures compounded, and personal mistakes began to have consequences visible to all. This period marked the beginning of a downward spiral where success in the ring could no longer shield him from the chaos of life beyond it: conviction and prison. In 1992, Tyson faced a conviction that would alter his life dramatically. The sentence of 6 years in prison brought him face to face with consequences that fame could not erase. For the public, it was a shocking fall from grace, a narrative of a hero undone by his own actions. For Tyson, the experience was deeply introspective. Within the walls of the prison, stripped of status and influence, he confronted the patterns and choices that had brought him there. He trained, read, and reflected, realizing that wealth and victory had not been enough to protect him from the emotional wounds he carried. The time in prison became a turning point, forcing Tyson to reckon with the trauma that had shaped his life from childhood and set the stage for the slow process of healing. Return to the ring and public infamy. Tyson returned to boxing in 1995, but the man who reemerged was no longer the unchallenged phenomenon of his youth. Anger, frustration, and unresolved trauma guided his actions as much as skill. The infamous fight against Evander Holyfield in 1997, where he bit his opponent's ear, became a symbol of his internal struggle playing out publicly. Fans and critics alike saw a lapse of judgment, an unthinkable moment of violence. But beneath the headlines was a man wrestling with the same childhood fears and grief that had never truly left him. The bite was not just a scandal, it was a window into decades of unprocessed emotion, a reminder that even champions are human, and that the pressures of fame and personal history can manifest in moments no one expects. Financial collapse and addiction. After leaving the ring, Tyson faced challenges that were no less severe than those in his youth. He declared bankruptcy, losing the fortune he had earned through his career. His finances had been mismanaged, compounded by spending sprees and a lifestyle that often exceeded his means. This financial instability coincided with a turn toward substances, as he sought relief from grief, regret, and the pressure to perform and exist in a world that still saw him primarily as Iron Mike. Addiction became both an escape and a trap, offering temporary relief while deepening the challenges he faced. These years of struggle were a test of resilience in ways the public rarely saw, forcing Tyson to confront the very vulnerabilities he had spent his life attempting to hide. Unimaginable personal loss. In 2009, Tyson endured a grief that eclipsed anything he had faced before: the death of his 4-year-old daughter, Exodus, in a tragic household accident. The loss was profound, leaving a hole in his heart that no fame, money, or support could fill. For days, Tyson withdrew, struggling to comprehend how someone so young, so innocent, could be taken from him. This was a grief unlike any other, a pain that reshaped his life and forced him to confront emotions he had long avoided. It was through this heartbreak that Tyson began to understand the limits of strength and the necessity of vulnerability. The loss of Exodus became a catalyst for a renewed journey of self-reflection, grief work, and personal growth. Healing and reinvention. Following the tragedy, Tyson dedicated himself to rebuilding his life with a focus on honesty, self-awareness, and healing. Therapy, recovery, and personal reflection became central to his journey. He worked to establish healthier relationships, remove toxic influences, and confront the patterns that had led him into cycles of pain. Gradually, Tyson reclaimed aspects of his identity beyond the ring: humor, empathy, and a willingness to be vulnerable. Publicly, he began sharing his story with authenticity, allowing audiences to see the man behind the myth, someone shaped by trauma but committed to growth. His one-man show, Undisputed Truth, became a platform to narrate his life on his own terms, blending humor, vulnerability, and insight. For the first time, the world witnessed a version of Tyson not defined by violence or controversy, but by resilience, reflection, and human complexity. Confronting aging and physical limits. Even as Tyson rebuilt his emotional life, he faced the realities of aging and the physical toll of decades in boxing. Injuries, chronic pain, and the natural decline of his body posed new challenges. Simple movements became strenuous, old concussions affected his health, and the stamina that once defined him was no longer guaranteed. Yet, Tyson approached these challenges with the same dedication he had once applied to training: persistence, discipline, and a willingness to confront limitations directly. He acknowledged the fragility of his body while using movement, boxing, and exercise as tools for emotional and physical survival. In doing so, Tyson embraced a version of strength that was not defined solely by power or dominance, but by the courage to adapt, accept, and continue despite vulnerability. Public perception and legacy. Tyson's journey highlights the tension between public perception and personal truth. While the media and fans often fixated on moments of scandal, violence, or eccentricity, Tyson's private life revealed a man grappling with pain, loss, and the complexities of survival. His openness about childhood trauma, personal failures, grief, and addiction challenged the simplistic narratives imposed upon him. Through interviews, public appearances, and performances, Tyson communicated that redemption, healing, and growth were possible even for those who had endured profound suffering. His story became less about knockout victories and more about resilience, accountability, and the courage to face one's past. Return to public life. In the late 2010s and early 2020s, Tyson re-entered public life in new ways. Business ventures, media appearances, and social projects reflected a man determined to redefine himself outside the constraints of his earlier public persona. Even as he trained for exhibition matches and public events, the motivation had shifted from dominance to purpose. Movement became therapy, boxing became meditation, and public engagement became a platform for sharing lessons learned from decades of hardship. Fans began to see a Tyson who embodied vulnerability alongside strength, humor alongside reflection, and humanity alongside legend. The ongoing battle within. Despite progress, Tyson continues to navigate the challenges of his past. Trauma, grief, and the expectations of others remain present forces in his life. The balance between public legacy and personal healing is delicate, requiring constant awareness, care, and effort. Tyson has spoken candidly about waking with uncertainty, questioning his identity, and confronting fears of irrelevance. Yet even amid these struggles, he persists, demonstrating that true courage often lies not in flawless performance, but in the willingness to live authentically, embrace vulnerability, and confront life with honesty and resilience. The man behind the myth. Mike Tyson's story transcends boxing. It is a narrative of survival, transformation, and human resilience. From the streets of Brownsville to the heights of global fame through scandal, imprisonment, addiction, loss, and grief, Tyson has navigated challenges few can imagine. His journey reminds us that even the strongest, most formidable figures carry hidden struggles, and that public perception often misses the depth of personal pain and growth. Today, Tyson stands as a survivor, a father, and a man committed to understanding himself and sharing that understanding with the world. His victories are no longer counted in knockout punches or championship belts, but in acts of honesty, reflection, and the courage to rebuild a life from the fragments of a difficult past. Reflection and redemption. At 59, Tyson's life embodies both the fragility and the power of human experience. He has faced unimaginable hardships and emerged with insight, humility, and resilience. He has shown that redemption is possible, not through external validation, but through confronting pain, embracing vulnerability, and taking responsibility for one's journey. His legacy is a complex tapestry of triumph, tragedy, mistakes, and growth, a reminder that greatness does not immunize anyone from heartbreak, and that survival itself can be the most profound achievement. Tyson's story is a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit, the necessity of compassion for oneself, and the courage to face life honestly, even when it feels unbearable. Continuing the journey, Mike Tyson continues to live with intention, balancing the demands of public expectation with personal growth. He trains, performs, and engages with audiences while navigating the physical and emotional realities of aging and a tumultuous past. He shares his experiences openly, offering insight into the human cost of fame, the long shadows of trauma, and the ongoing process of healing. Each day represents a choice: to confront the past, to nurture the present, and to create a future defined not solely by legend, but by authenticity, care, and resilience. Tyson's life, marked by highs and lows that few could endure, ultimately teaches a profound lesson. Even in the midst of chaos and heartbreak, survival, growth, and humanity remain possible. Legacy of a survivor. In the end, Mike Tyson's life is not defined solely by controversy, violence, or headlines. It is defined by endurance, self-discovery, and transformation. From a broken child in Brownsville to a champion in the ring, and ultimately to a man openly grappling with the complexity of his experiences, Tyson embodies the duality of strength and vulnerability. His story invites reflection, empathy, and understanding, reminding the world that the most compelling victories are often internal, fought quietly in the heart and mind. Tyson's ongoing journey is a narrative of redemption, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and a powerful example that even the hardest paths can be met with courage, honesty, and hope.